Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the first wrap up of the year. Can you guys believe this? The first wrap up of the year in April. Well, we're in May right now, but the fact that I haven't made a wrap-up video or have even talked about books that I have read recently is just besides me. It's been a rough few months. It's been a rough starting of the year. January wasn't so bad. I did get a lot of reading done, but I feel like February, March, and April have been the worst mentally and with my reading. And I think April was the worst of all. It's been the worst reading month of my reading life. Well, I'm not going to say my reading life per se because I've taken a lot of breaks, but I think April has been the least amount of books that I have read in a matter of 5 years, because I've been consistently reading for the past 5 to 6 years. I know that for sure because I did start my Bookstagram, I think it was 6 years ago, and ever since that I've been continuously reading. But April has been my lowest. Again, I'm just like so surprised. I read 3 books for the month of April, and that's okay because I am motivated to read again. I think I'm over my reading slump. I feel like a lot of people have gone through reading slumps in the month of April or really haven't enjoyed what they've been reading. That's just what I keep hearing. I did a reel on my Instagram where I talk about my wrap up, and at least every other comment on that reel is people having a hard time reading or have had a hard time reading in the month of April. So I don't know if it's just something that's in the water or in the air, but it's okay. I did read 3 books, so let's talk about them. I read Asylum for the month of April by Patrick McGrath. This is just a book that sounded really interesting to me when I read the synopsis when I was shopping for books one day. I think I got this off a book outlet a really long time ago, and it just sounded interesting. I really loved the cover to it. It was just like very gothic and dark, and so I gave it a try. If you go on Goodreads, this does not have the best reviews, but I really enjoyed this. As a matter of fact, I do have a vlog. I don't know when it's gonna come out, but in that vlog I read this and I read Ecstasia. I just have to really film the intro and my final thoughts on that video and it should be good to go, but I've been procrastinating in life, period. This book takes place in an asylum. It's actually a clinic or a hospital where they hold criminally insane people, and they've committed murders or they've committed some type of like criminal act, and they're just not deemed suitable for just a regular jail, I presume. But one day this new doctor, Max, he's going to be a psychologist at the grounds in the asylum, and the way it works is that the doctors actually live in the same grounds. Like they have houses built. Obviously there's like a big land and then they have the houses built there, and he's going to be one of the resident doctors that's going to be living on the grounds, and it's him and his wife and their son. And so on the first few days the wife ends up meeting one of the patients, but this patient is very smart. He's very manipulative. He's very gripping when he speaks to you, and she slowly, well, I wouldn't say much slowly, but she quickly starts falling in love with this man and she has an affair with him. Can you imagine being Max, the head psychiatrist? I think he's the head psychiatrist, or he's just a psychiatrist. Can you imagine finding out that your wife is having an affair with one of the inmates or the patients, let's say, of this hospital for the criminally insane? Like, oh my gosh, poor guy. But anyways, things start to escalate with their affair and things happen, and it was a wild ride. The decisions that this lady, what's her name, Stella, the decisions that Stella makes are just ridiculous. It's very easy to say that on the other side. I don't know how I would have reacted. I mean, first off, I don't think I would have fallen in love with a patient. This patient, what's his name? Look, I forget everybody's name. Edgar Stark. Edgar Stark, he is the patient that Stella falls in love with. He is there because he killed his wife because he was for sure that the wife was having an affair, and so he ends up killing her. And he's an artist. He's out there, but he's very very smart and cunning. So it was just a wild ride. I really love where this novel took this affair. Tragic things end up happening towards the end to Stella and the husband, and just watching their lives unravel was such a great time. And like I said earlier, the Goodreads reviews aren't great, but for me, it was a fantastic novel. It was super atmospheric. It was crazy. Yes, there were some poor decisions, as I've said, but I just enjoyed the ride, and I really enjoyed reading from Stella's point of view, and we're actually also hearing from another doctor's point of view, and this other doctor is actually the psychiatrist for Edgar Stark, which Stella and him were friends already, and Stella ends up confessing about her affair with Edgar Stark to his own doctor. So it was just wild. To me, it was just wild. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. If you like gothic novels about asylums and just people that just make poor decisions, I think you would enjoy this one. Just know that it is a slow burn, and I think that's why it has low reviews. But again, I enjoyed it, 4 stars. This is gonna be a quick wrap up because I'm telling you, only 3 books. The second book that I read and I actually listened to on audiobook was Chills by Mary Sangiovanni. In this book, we follow a freak snowstorm. It is the middle of May, and the people in Connecticut just get this weird snowstorm, this blizzard, and amidst this whole strange weather catastrophe, they find a body that's been mutilated with a whole bunch of ritual signs around it. This is a series that follows Detective Kathy Ryan. Before I continue, I usually don't like books that follow detectives or detective crime thrillers. When I read them, I enjoy them, but I usually don't tend to gravitate towards those. But I did receive this audiobook from Crossroads Publishing. Last year, they did a whole bunch of like free audiobooks where they would give you codes, and this was one of them. And I had never read a Mary Sangiovanni book before. I know of her through Brian King. I don't know if they're married or they're just together, and I thought I would just give it a try. You know, Brian King is one of my favorite authors, so I'm like, let me see what his boo has to offer. And while I did enjoy this book, it wasn't my favorite. With that being said, I don't think I'm going to continue on with the series, but I think the series anyways is just following this one detective. None of the books correlate with each other. Maybe, I'm not sure because I didn't look into the other books, but I'm thinking that's usually how it goes. And I did start this a couple months ago. Actually, I started this in the dead of winter because it was a snow-based book, and I was trying to find like all the snowy wintry books. And although this is not set in winter, it has a winter kind of theme. But anyways, back to the synopsis. So they call this a cult detective. That's the difference with this novel, is that she is a detective that specializes in the occult and rituals and dark things of the matter. So they call her in and she's investigating the scene. All in all, they're just trying to figure out, with the weird weather and these deaths that are happening, because they find more deaths along the way, if there is any correlation between them. And yeah, they're just trying to solve all these murders and what is happening. So there is a lot of occult in this, and even though it is a thriller, it does have horror tones in it, because we do talk about like the rituals and the bodies that are found murdered, and there's all this supernatural aspect to it as well. While I did enjoy this book, it wasn't my favorite. I had a good time with it. I ended up giving it 3 stars, and like I said, I did start it months ago and then I put it down because I was a bit bored with it. But overall, I did enjoy the ride. I feel like the reveal was a little bit of a letdown. It was a little bit lackluster for me. Is that the right term? I keep saying it in my head and for some reason it doesn't sound right, lackluster, but I think you guys know what I mean. But overall, I did enjoy some aspects of it, and I found other aspects boring. And like I said, I'm not continuing on with the series. I'm so sorry if I sound nasally, but I am sick again. I don't know what is going on. I usually don't get sick. Well, immunity sick. I do get a hormonally sick all the time. That's what I suffer from. But my immune system is pretty strong. But for some reason, within the past 3 weeks, I have just been sick 2 times. And it's so weird. So sorry if I sound nasally, but that's just what's going on in my life right now. Before we get to the last book in April, I did start Empire of the Vampire in April and I didn't get to finish. I did start this for Tome Topple. I did not finish the book for Tome Topple. I'm still reading it right now. I'm about done. So I did read the majority of Empire of the Vampire for the month of April. So, I mean, I did do some reading in April. I just didn't get to finish this, but you will be seeing a vlog dedicated to Empire of the Vampire. And I will talk more about this book in my May wrap up because that's when I'm going to be finishing it. But for the last book for the month of April was 9 Lives by Peter Swanson, and I read this for the book troop. I was one of the co-hosts for the book club for the month of April. It was me, McKay, and Katie Colson, and of course Gabby, which is the original host of the book troop. This is the last book I read. This is the book I picked up when I came back from vacation, and thank God that I was invigorated to read again because I went 4 days without reading anything, not picking up a book. My husband and I were traveling and I needed that disconnect so badly because I think it helped me out with my slump. But picking this book up, I was kind of afraid that I was going to jump back into a slump, but thank God I didn't. This book was not good at all. I was in between giving it 2 and 3 stars at the beginning of the live show, but the more that we talked about it, the more I was like, no, this is a 2-star read. This is supposed to be like an Agatha Agatha Christie, and then there were Nun retelling, and I've never read that book. And I was hoping that because I didn't read that book, I was gonna like this one because that's what I was hearing more or less. Like, people that didn't read the Agatha Christie book really liked this, and then people that read the Agatha Christie book did not like this at all. So I was hoping that I would fall in the I liked it more category, but no. One of the main consensus that we got from the live show was that it was just boring. There was nothing really happening. The whole point of the murders or the letting go of people one by one, the 9 victims, it was just not, I don't know, it just didn't work. It was not a good book. Basically, here we're following 9 people and you get the backstory of these 9 people, and little by little there's this list, and each one of the victims or each one of the people, of the 9 people that are on this list, receive the list in the mail, like in a very incognito kind of way. They just get this letter and there's these 9 names on it, and little by little each one of these people ends up dead, and it comes out on the news. And so now the other people are sort of like panicking, so they're trying to, the police is trying to protect all these people, and then, you know, you're trying to find out who is it and why are they doing this. And the reveal was kind of like lackluster again. It was boring. The characters were boring. I think one of the questions that Gabby asked, like, who was your favorite character and who was your least favorite, and I feel like they were all my least favorite characters. There wasn't a character in particular that I was drawn to more than the others. So yeah, it was just boring. It was not good. You guys know that I don't like to give low ratings. I try to look at the best in books from all sides. You know, I'm not a big writer. I can't barely write a sentence. So somebody that can write a book, I just admire that out of a person. But I could not help just not liking this one. And again, like, the more I talked about this with everybody else on the live show, the more I just realized, yeah, it was really boring. 2 stars. And this was my first Peter Swanson book. I do own a couple of his other books. I might try The Kind Worth Killing because they were talking about how that is probably one of the best ones of his. And Every Vow You Break I own as well. I'm gonna give those 2 a chance, but after reading this one, I don't have high hopes for those either. I cannot believe that I'm sitting here and I'm just wrapping up 3 books, and that this is the wrap up that I decide to come back to YouTube with. Please forgive me. It's okay. At least I got some reading in. How was your reading in April? Did you read a favorite book? Were you slumping as half of the world was in the reading community? Let's chat books in the comment section down below. As usual, all these books will be linked in the description box below. They are affiliate links. Just want to let you know that little detail. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.